has become such a place of joy for so many people, because it really just came out of me being bored. That's originally how it started. But the internet has been this like great way and effective way to bring people together. So I'm glad you guys like it.
Yes, it's well, we're glad that you decided to hop on IG and so that you share a little bit of your life with us. And that's one of the things at the memo we talk about access, because whether you're in New York or Los Angeles or you're in Alabama, we still want you to feel like as women of color you have access. So we really appreciate you spending time with us. So let's get into it. You have been in this game for a while now. I don't know if people know this, but my brothers, they used to watch you on a show called My Brother and Me, and then I used to watch you on Sucker Free Sundays, and I followed your career path, and I'd love to hear, your thoughts on longevity and just, what you've been in it since you were a young woman, like a little kid, and now into a grown woman. Just what does longevity mean to you in an industry that wasn't built necessarily for us to succeed?
I mean, longevity, of course, is measured differently for different people, right? Some people measure longevity by just how long they've been able to sustain a certain amount of money, or by how long they've been able to sustain visibility. For me, longevity has been about like how long I've been able to continue on an upward trend. I mean, there have been some times where that plateau feels real solid, and you're just like, is it ever going to trend up again? But for me, the key to longevity has been being able to pivot. I've been very fortunate that I've been able to have like a number of different fields artistically and creatively that I've been able to navigate through, whether it be as a host, as a comedian, as a musician, as an actress, etc. And so for me, it was always like the key to my being able to stay afloat was being able to like keep swimming. And sometimes I'd have to change my stroke. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm doing the breaststroke, sometimes I'm doing the backstroke. And I feel like when I look at a number of the individuals that I feel like have been able to sustain in this industry as well, like they've also been key in doing the same thing. And it may not necessarily be that they're pivoting in creative spaces, but they might be pivoting in the behind the scenes spaces. They might be pivoting in how they're utilizing their money. Some people are funding themselves and they decide, hey, you know what, let me fund other people. And then they're like, you know what, actually let me move into tech, etc. So there's that. Another big part of longevity is just not being a dick. Like, and I know that may sound real generic, but there's been times when I was a dick and it's hurt me, and it wasn't that I was trying to be callous or that I was trying to be stank. It was just that I wasn't paying enough attention to the fact that, like, one, people are sensitive, for the most part. People are sensitive. Everybody has a very large ego. Everybody's in their own movie, and sometimes you just have to put aside like your ego for your vision, and that can be very, very difficult when someone is telling you have an attitude when you don't have a fucking attitude. But it happens, especially as Black women. People love to tell us we have an attitude. Black women love to tell other Black women they have an attitude. Oh, we love to do that. And so it does take like some real like clear-headed thinking to like not let your emotions outweigh the fact that, one, you may need that job, or two, you may have a really great product and you don't want the attitude and whatever they're misnomering to get in the way of them hearing that's your really great product. And so I've had to do some work in that space, because I wouldn't say that I'm a sweetie pie by any means. I mean, I'm a happy broad, but I don't have a lot of patience for extraness or for stupidity, and sometimes you're going to deal with extraness and stupidity, and you got to find those extra words.
That's good. That's a good way to put it. I mean, because, yeah, the angry Black woman, the feisty Latina, the docile Asian, those are labels, and those are real out there. And sometimes we are being that, and sometimes we're not, right?
Right. I've literally had someone when I was on a call, and I was like, I would really like us, and I was purposely speaking in this tone, and I was like, I would really like us to keep the meeting because we've canceled the last 3. And the person was like, you know, I don't appreciate your attitude. And I was like, I, I don't have an attitude. You know, then you find yourself, you're almost talking this low, you know, but it's like, but in that moment, I really had to check myself because I was about to be like, you know what? And I was like, nope, don't let their shit get in the way of yours. Yeah.
I feel you. Well, you know, being that we all have ups and downs in our career, has there been a time where you felt like you wanted to give up?
I mean, like 2 o'clock today. No, you know, yes, absolutely. Because the most critical time is when you feel like you're not moving. You know, I always say hope is a sea on which you can sail to success. And what you're sailing on is hope is the wind that keeps you moving, you know? And when you feel like there's nothing to kind of grasp on hope-wise, you just feel like you're sitting just still in the water and you don't know how you're going to like pick up any wind and any speed to move. And so I've definitely had that experience. I would say around 2009 was really like, I don't know, player. I don't really know. 2008 and 2009 were struggle years for sure. I mean, I literally just paid off a credit card like last year from that year, you know, where I had to pay rent on my credit card and I had to pay my bills on my credit card. And, you know, those were years that I was trying to do music and I was putting all my money into music and I really wasn't smart about it and I didn't really do enough research. And so I ended up just getting taken advantage of by thirsty, greedy, you know, dishonest people. Oh, the music business, surprise. And it took me a minute to get out of that. It really, really did. And then, you know, you have your ups and downs. You have your times where it's like you think you hit something. You know, you think you hit on a stride and you're like, yeah, I'm on this stride. I'm on this stride. And then the stride is like, nah. You know, I just knew that when I came back from the Floetry tour that we were about to drop an album and I was about to be in Floetry now and we were about to just, you know, start a whole new movement. And then I got back and Marsha asked me to start a MySpace page for the new Floetry and then she didn't accept the friend request. And so I was like, okay, so I guess this is, you know, and then I like took out a loan to start my own music but what always ends up kind of bringing me out of that is like creating. And you have to find what your thing is to bring you out of that. Everyone has their thing. Sometimes it's like for some people it's going to see other people's work, you know, and for some people it's just like just pivoting to something else, you know, like let me take my mind off this and go do something else. For some people it's going on, you know, a retreat, you know, but for me a lot of times it's like, you know what, let me just like come up with something. And it's like where you can't get the yes from other people, it's like create the yes from within.
That's a tweetable moment. So for those who are out there tweeting, get the yes from within. That's what's up. I think that's important, and you hit on a couple of things. One of the things at the memo that we always talk about is don't be afraid to invest in yourself and take that jump. You know, place a bet on yourself because you know you're gonna go high. So it's important to do that.
If you can rely on anybody, you got to rely on yourself. You know, I mean, that's really like the best source of your assurance. Yeah. I know I ain't gonna stand in my way. You know,
you want you to win, right? Or you should want you to win, right? So
there's things sometimes you realize, like, wait, do I want me to win? You know, I think for a while there, I was afraid of fame. Like, I think I was absolutely afraid of fame and kind of like not really sure what I would do with it. And I think that there was a certain piece of me that wasn't self-sabotaging per se, but that was kind of like playing a back seat to opportunities that I could maybe have gone a little harder for, you know? Mm-hmm. And I mean, nothing before its time, but I definitely feel like sometimes it does require some self-checking to see if you really do, if you really are doing what's best for you. Sometimes we stand in our own way.
That's good. And I know that you moved from New York to LA. Do you feel like that life would be where, let me rephrase that. You made that move from New York to Los Angeles. For the women out there that want to make a move, but they're afraid, they're scared, what do you tell them?
I mean, listen, like I've always said that if you want drastic change, you have to make a drastic move. I mean, that's basically just like my bottom line for a lot of things. And there's not always the means to do that. Like, I definitely had to create the opportunity for me to be able to do that. You know, it was one, I had a boss at BET.com who just invested in my success and said, hey, like, this show that you created, I'll pick it up so that you can get some income. And two, I went viral on CNN, and I always tell the story that Francesca Ramsey woke me up at 5:30 a.m. after a red eye. She texted me and was like, you need to get up. And I was like, why is she doing this to me? And I called her, and she was like, you need to create a lecture around what you talked about on CNN, and you need to put it up on your Twitter because people will want to hear more about what you have to say. And I did that, and I immediately got a response, and I was able to, you know, head out to colleges and get enough capital at the same time that I was, you know, speaking a strong, powerful, humorous message. I made enough capital to come to LA and be able to create more platforms to do that. And I'm actually about to start promoting a new lecture that I created in accordance with the Caitlyn Jenner video. So, and that lecture is A Seat at the Table. And the lecture is based on what role will you play in the conversation towards change? You know, and basically in the lecture, I break down, if we were at a table, the different roles that people play in these conversations, which role you gonna be? Because we're all a part of it. We're all sitting at a dinner table in America right now having conversations, and we have a lot of obstructionists that we need to remove.
Yeah, no, that's real. I know one of the things that you've talked about recently on IG is that allies and that whole word. And I know for me, I do talks about, you know, a seat at the table as well. And people are always saying, I see myself as an ally, but do others see you that way? I mean,
yeah,
it's a real thing. You know, I know you've been asked a lot about the allies portion of, I mean, what can people do? We can be allies as well, right? To others.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, listen, my biggest thing is that everyone has to be able to choose their role. You know, and that's my thing. I feel like there's this overwhelming sense that, like, every Black person is supposed to be the educator to all white people about Black history, about what they should be doing to end racism, you know, et cetera. And I just feel like that's a large burden to put on a group of people who have continued to carry the burden of this country forever, you know, and who built this country and who simply were not a party to creating the problem that they're being asked to fix. Even I feel like I've pivoted. I mean, I've considered myself an educator for quite some time, but right now I'm a bit tired of people just being like, well, what can I do? What can I do? Because I just feel like the initial answers are so basic and innate to anybody who has common sense or who even has basic ethics. The first thing you can do is verbally and, you know, visually denounce racism. You know, Angela Davis said you can't just be non-racist, you got to be anti-racist, you know, and that's the thing. A lot of people feel like by just not being a part of the negativity that they are somehow like not a part of the problem. It's like, if you are not actively showing that you are against the problem, what are you doing? And I just don't feel like I should have to tell you that. I just don't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm naive in thinking that, but a really good friend of mine hit me today and was like, what can I do? And I was like, girl, come on. You know, and I guess, but to be clear, it's, I feel like my issue is people who come with no ideas. You know, it's like, if you come to the table like, okay, this is what I'm thinking of doing, this is how I want to get involved, this is where I feel like I can be most useful, what do you think? That to me is one thing. And that to me is an ally. That's someone who has already started the action of taking action. That's not someone who's sitting on a couch asking for you to help them up, because I just feel like that's a ridiculous request to ask of Black people.
No, I agree. That's good.
Because there's some Black people who don't agree. There's some Black people who are like, Amanda, you're shutting out the others and we need to work together. And I'm like, take your kumbaya shit somewhere else. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. Your kumbaya can live. It just doesn't live in my space. I'm not trying to, look, whatever rows your boat, just don't sink mine.
That's real. I mean, I think that's true. I mean, there are other Black people who will answer that question for them. So,
you know, try again.
Yeah.
I'm just not the one, but maybe there's someone else.
True. So I guess that kind of...
Amanda and Manda are not the ones.
I know. People keep saying, it's like, dude, I know I've been Black all my life, but I mean, you've been my friend pretty much my whole life too. So what do you think you can do to help?
What do you think? Because you've been hearing me. You've been hearing me, you know? And like, I know that there's a white bubble that people live in. I know this. You know, there's a white bubble that people live in where they don't have access per se to like everyday experiences with Black people, but like, I mean, the beauty of the web is that you can create connectivity in places that you never would have had access to. Like, I didn't know anything that was going on with Aleppo because I don't know any Syrian people. And so what did I do? I took the time out to follow a number of outlets and of sites that are dedicated to reporting on Aleppo, and that's how I educated myself on Aleppo. I took the time out to Google Aleppo to see where Syria was, and took some time to look at some history and people write about these things, and you can very quickly get a basic understanding. I mean, and let's be real. If you live in America and you went to middle school in America, you have a basic understanding that slavery happened and that shit was whack. So, and you also know that Jim Crow happened and that shit was also whack.
And you know what just happened this weekend?
You know, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Like, you literally have to crawl out from under a rock in Montana to be like, wait, what? What happened? And a lot of those guys are from Montana anyway, so you knew.
Yes, yeah. We have people in the chat. They're like, yes, come with some ideas. Come with some ideas. So,
how you showing up to the party without a bottle? What? You know, like, everyone knows. And maybe that's just Black culture. You don't come to the barbecue without a dish. You know, maybe that's us for not knowing that, like, we have a certain level of expectation of class. You don't show up without something.
Yes, another tweetable moment. Being a Black in Trump's America, I mean, me and my girlfriends were talking about this all the time. We're sending text messages like, oh my God, you know, I'm stressed out, I'm wore out, I can't sleep. What do we do next?
Take a nap. We got to preserve the energy. I mean, I think one thing that we do need to do really realistically is start our growth in numbers and our meetings of the mind. You know, I think that there's a lot of group chats that are happening, like you said, with your friends, but I think that on an organizational level, we need to be a lot sharper and a lot more deliberate in our organizing and on what we're meeting about, how we're meeting, and where we intend to go. You know, I think for a lot of us, Black Lives Matter came to serve as this like overhead banner that we all like embraced, and we're just like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, what about that? But in realistic terms, and as it relates to organizing and as it relates to a presence, I think that for a lot of us, it's almost like mythical, you know, like we see it, but in our own spaces, we're like, is there a place for me to join that here? And so when you look at these white folks, these Nazis, they're organized. They're organized, they have weapons, and, you know, most importantly, they have rage. And that rage is fueling them in a way that is not going to die down. It hasn't. I mean, they've kept this rage through Obama. You know, they were waiting for this. They're waiting for this. And so for us, we have to start cultivating our own rage in a way that doesn't infringe upon our happiness, because there's that, but that also doesn't get in the way of our freedom. And I feel like that's going to be inevitable at some point, because when they take into the streets, we can't stay in our homes. Mm-hmm. So yeah. My number one thing is we need to get real down and dirty with organizing.
You hear that, ladies? I know that if you sign up for the memo, if you're not subscribed, we also have a listserv that we could put you on to get checked in. You can give your money, give your time. You don't want to get out there, there's plenty of organizations you can give to. So do something. Silence is not an option. Not doing anything is not an option.
It's really not at this point. Like, it's really not. I think a lot of people maybe up until this point have been able to excise themselves from immediate action, but if you, after this weekend, if you're blind, I need you to go and watch the Vice video that they just did on Charlottesville. And if that don't wake you up, then you're in a coma, and we wouldn't be any help to anybody anyway.
None at all. None at all. And I'm hoping that even that video woke up Ivanka and Jared, because that was pretty telling. I mean, they called him out by name. So, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, these people are, I always say, they may come from money, but they're worthless.
On that note, let's move into Black love. I love that you're so transparent on Instagram and on Twitter and on YouTube about what's going on with you. Let's talk about, I know sometimes you give dating advice, and you know, I find that some of the women I know, they're just happy if a guy texts them back. You know, like, have we just lowered our standards so much that a text message is, we're talking about that?
Yeah, I had to check myself. That's why I'm single again. So I had to check myself, y'all. I had to just come from my own neck. Like, ooh, what are you doing? Yeah, it's tough out here. It's really tough. I mean, I think that, you know, some of us, you know, you get so used to being strong and single that when you even have like a moment of like, ooh, like I could like you know, you can dip into the bullshit real quick, and you can swim around that, and you're like, this isn't so bad, like this is fine, you know. And then you start asking questions, and your friends want you to be happy, so your friends are like, no, it's cool, like you don't need to adjust, you do not need to adjust to societal norms if it makes you happy to do that. And you're like, you're right. But then you get down to the bare bones of it all, and at the end of the day, it's like, when people care about you, they show you. And some people don't even care enough about themselves to be able to care about you properly. And that's a really tough break. You know, and a lot of times, especially as women, as Black women, you know, as nurturers, we oftentimes just naturally are like, no, but I see you, you know, like, and we just want to let their little light of theirs shine. And you can get caught up in that too. So it's a lonely business having self-worth. It is. It's a lonely business. I mean, but I'm so dedicated to the message of living in my truth and living in, and encouraging folks to live in their truth. And I really, really ardently believe that when you live in your truth, it is the compass to your purpose. And that being said, it's like you cannot willfully accept treatment beneath your integrity and your worth and what you're delivering. And because once you do, where do you go from there? You know, there's only downward. So, I mean, I literally had to check myself like 2 days ago and just be like, what are you accepting? This is stupid, you know? And sometimes people wake up, most of the times they don't. More importantly, you wake up and you get a lesson about what you're willing to put up with and what you're not, and you keep on going. And, you know, I think eventually all of us hope to just find someone that's not a waste of our time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've all been there where certain things are like, you know what, this is not okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I just mentioned you on the Breakfast Club the other day and you already whacked. You know what I mean? It's like, really? Okay.
It's like that. Well, you know, that brings me to another point. You mentioned something about some people are with you because they know they should be with you. Maybe you can expound on that. I thought that was, I was like, damn, that's really good.
Because you're flawed.
Yeah.
You know, because you're fly, you're dope, your life is together, you're on point, you understand? Like, you're inspirational, you beautiful, you know, you give good head, whatever. Like, all the boxes are, it's so easy to check boxes, you know? Like, I know so many women that are just multiple box checkers, you know? They're just checking all kinds of boxes. They ain't got no kids, you know, like, they're just a man's dream, or vice versa. You know, I know a lot of dudes that are just like hella box checkers, but they just can't like connect with somebody. And I think what that does sometimes though is that like somebody realizes like, I should want to be with this person because like they're great. So I should. But in themselves, they're lacking something. You know, in themselves, they may not be ready, you know, or they just genuinely may not be attracted to you in the romantic way, you know? I mean, we've all been in situations where it's the reverse, where you're like, I should like this person. I should, because this person is nice. This person is nice. This person
I don't like nice.
Right? This person is nice. This person has a good job. You know, this person opens my door for me, but I do not care if this person has a penis, and that makes him just my friend. You know what I mean? And that's a real reality. And so what I was saying with that statement is that, like, sometimes someone doesn't necessarily want to be with you, they just feel that they should be with you. And what you end up really seeing is in their actions, because their actions really display if they want to be with you or not, you know, because it shouldn't be a struggle to make you happy. It shouldn't be like an effort to do what you say they're going to do. But oftentimes the subconscious is what really drives actions. And if your subconscious doesn't really want to be with the person, it's going to show in your behaviors. So when you're not really wanting to be with somebody, but you feel like you should be with them, that's why when they texted you, you weren't like, because your subconscious is like, I don't really care. I don't. I'll get back to it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Later. Yeah. Yeah. That's real. That's real. Let's get into. So everybody, yeah, put some respect on our own names, right? So we have to learn to do that. So let's talk about Insecure. I mean, what are you surprised that Insecure is as big of a show as it is? I mean,
honestly, no, because we need some Black shit. So, you know, and it's authentic. You know, it's authentic to Issa's voice. So I always believe that anything authentic is going to win. I mean, and that's why I get so frustrated when people ask, like, will white people watch Black things? And it's like, authenticity is the most broad spectrum trait of anything, right? So, I mean, I have nothing in common with Seinfeld. Nothing. At the time when it was on, I wasn't a comic, you know, but it was an authentic rendering of his comedic voice, him and Larry David's comedic voice, and that's why it was able to cut through. And so, you know, I think that's what a lot of people really love about Insecure, is that they feel like it's authentic. They feel like they could see themselves, even if they don't see themselves necessarily in the characters, they just like seeing characters that look like themselves and look like their friends on HBO. And I love that people are so vocal about their love and so, like, willing to share it with people and get our numbers up and let HBO know that, like, this show is here to stay. And so here we go with season 3.
I know. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love it. I watch my Game of Thrones, then I watch Insecure.
Exactly.
It's a perfect combination. So that's great. So we're excited. I mean, TV is just, I mean, for a long time it was just reality TV, and now we have some shows. Okay, and so I'm loving every bit of it. Now you have a lot. So for people who don't know, you're not just on Insecure. Maybe you could tell everybody what you're doing, how we can support you, because I know there's a bunch of questions too that we want to get to in the queue. So I want to make sure that we get those. But I want everyone to know what you're up to so we can support you.
Well, I do a live show here in LA called Smart, Funny, and Black. It's a live comedy game show about Black pop culture, Black history, and the Black experience. We have amazing guests every month. 2 guests compete for the honor of being inducted into the illustrious League of Master Blacksperts. So the next one is actually, usually it's every first Tuesday of the month, but I'm going to be traveling for the next 2 months, and so the next one is actually going to be on Halloween at 7 p.m. here in LA. And of course, I'm going to ask that people wear their best Black costume. So either a Black character, anything having to do with the Blackness, I'm here for it, okay? So there's that. There's also, I will be adding a tab to my website by Monday that has all of my dates for stand-up and for colleges. So I will be doing that shortly so you guys can come out when I'm in your city. Also, you know, I lecture and I do stand up at colleges. So anybody on here who would like me to come to their school to speak, you know, you can reach out to my manager, whose information is on my Instagram, and you can hit her up about me coming to where you are, whether it's a college or whether you work for a corporation, etc. You know, I'm available. I do a lot of lectures on diversity and on sexism, and I think that, you know, a lot of Black women, we don't get the opportunity to, like, see ourselves come and speak, so or to even talk about us. So there's that. I've got a book coming shortly, so working on that. What else? I'm so tired. You know, if you don't follow me on Instagram, follow my Insta stories. And shortly, I will be having my store open online, so you can buy T-shirts and merchandise that's associated with Smart, Funny, and Black, and also with some of the quotes that people have become fans of. Namely, I'm not hostile, I'm just passionate.
Do you still have that? Can people still buy that shirt, or?
I'm actually, like, I'm waiting till the top of the week so that you can buy it from the store, the new store, because that's the better place and it's the better quality shirt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but there'll be shirts, there'll be mugs, there'll be hoodies, there'll be all different stuff, buttons, et cetera. So look out for that. But really just look out. You know, I just be doing random stuff. I'll be at the Africana Film Festival September 16th and 17th in Virginia. So if you're down there, come on out and check me out there. I'll be DJing and also be speaking on a panel. And but yeah, the best thing you can do is starting on Monday, take a look at my calendar. And if you're around, come through, give me a high five. I'm going to start trying to do meetups when I go to these cities. Because people keep asking me, like, I want to go meet you. And I'm like, you know, in my mind, I'm like, no, y'all don't. Like, I'm going to go sit at a Burger King and be by myself. So, but I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm going to give it a whirl the next time that I am out of LA.
Cool, cool. Well, so make sure you guys go to Amanda's website, amandaseals.com, and support. 2 last questions for me then. So everybody get your questions ready. You're able to type them in the questions box, so go ahead. Some of you have already started, so we've answered some of them as we've been talking, but keep that open. What's the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
I would say the best piece of career advice that I've ever received. The best piece of career advice that I've ever received. That's a good one, Linda. I'm always the one giving the advice. I'm like, who's ever told me some good shit? You know what? I'll tell you. The best piece of career advice I'd ever received was when, well, first of all, it was everybody who told me to move to LA. But also was this agent at Gersh, and I didn't even end up signing with Gersh, but this woman at Gersh said to me, she was like, listen, if you have a story that you want to tell, then you need to tell it and not wait for someone to give you the chance to. And, you know, that seemed like a very daunting thing to do, because I'm like, what is she trying to tell me to do? I got to do a whole show? and I mean, for me, yeah, I had to do a whole show. But that advice, I feel like, can translate to anybody, you know? And I think it still goes back to what I said before about creating your own yes. And even though, like, you may already be doing that, sometimes you just got to be reminded that you have to keep doing that. But, yeah, I would say that has always, like, been I always end up back at that. You know, when I find myself, not bored, but if I find myself, like, feeling like I'm being led, it's like, okay, wait, like, where am I in this?
Yep, that's good. No, that's great. That's really good. Because you know, all of us, we have different things that we want to do. I spent 12 years in corporate America, and then I switched over to entrepreneurship. And so you can't be afraid to make a move. And there's a lot of power in allowing yourself to go for it. Like we talked about earlier, betting on yourself.
I do a weekly web series. I forgot about this. I do a weekly web series for Harper's Bazaar called Gem Dropping. And every week I compare 2 things. So sometimes it's related to social commentary, like we did white privilege versus personal struggle. Sometimes it's relationship based. We did attention versus affection. And the last week we did, this week we did buying in versus selling out. And you can check that out at harpersbazaar.com/Amanda Seals, or you can go to my YouTube, which is just Amanda Seals. But you know, I talk about just like how sometimes you don't even really know you're selling out, you know, but really it's like you have to know your own worth. And it's very difficult when you're trying to get on, and especially like as an entrepreneur, you're trying to get people to buy into what you're doing, and you're trying to get investors, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, damn, like maybe, okay, like fine, I'll just take this L, you know, to get some traction. And I think sometimes we don't really fully know our own worth, and so we take an L that we don't really need to take. Or sometimes you don't need to take an uppercase L. Sometimes it's a lowercase L, you know?
That's good. That's true. You don't have to take the big L all the time. Take the little L.
No.
Yes. One more question.
We're in such a time where I feel like also like people are so, there's such a quickness. Everyone feels like they need to do something quick that I feel like we don't do as much research as we could either. I'm very guilty of that.
No, that's good advice. I hope you guys are taking this information and also, I mean, I get so much schooling from your Instagram, so I'm part of the Amanda Seals certificate club.
Apparently I have a hive. Somebody said hashtag
Really?
seal hive today, and I was like, oh, I have a hive, seal hive. Okay.
Okay. I do it. If you could invite 3 people from the past to have dinner with you, who would you invite?
Maya Angelou, James Baldwin. That's my cat. Sorry. I feel like he just gave us a suggestion. Maya Angelou, James Baldwin, and Tupac.
That would be an amazing conversation.
Right? Oh my God. First of all, it'd be the blackest dinner you ever went to in your life. But there'd also be a whole lot of rhythm happening and, you know, just random poetry readings and whatnot. Yeah, all of those individuals just really inspire me as an artist and activist, you know, and have really been a key part of just forming my foundation as somebody who makes work that serves not only myself, but serves the people.
That's good. That's awesome. Yeah, all of those people. I would definitely pay money to sit in on that one. That would be good. We have somebody who asked a question. Oh, we have a few people say that they would meet you at the Burger King. So.
Okay, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna meet you at the Burger King. Good to know. Good to know, y'all.
Just in case, okay. Just in case. Oh, someone said, who inspires you now? Like who's a living person that inspires you?
Who's a living person that inspires me? I don't know why I just started singing a spiritual. Who is a living person that inspires me? Honestly, my peers inspire me. You know, just seeing like the sisterhood at work, you know, whether it's like seeing DeWanda Wise do her thing on, she's about to kill it on, She's Gotta Have It on Netflix, or Aisha Hines, my Grenada sister, doing her thing on Underground, or Issa, you know, seeing Brisha Webb getting her shine on the new Marlon show. You know, Estelle always doing her thing, just dropped her own independent project. I'm surrounded by a lot of women who are in my same peer group, but are like creating a next, you know, and it's very inspiring just being a part of that group, right? And knowing that I'm not alone, and that there is a support system, but also just like a network of creatives that are bouncing off of each other and inspiring each other to continue to do great work. Who else inspiring me? I mean, I'm always inspired watching Kristen Wiig perform. Just like, she's a white girl unicorn. You can't tell me shit about Kristen Wiig. So, I mean, as a comedic performer, I'm just like, I mean, yes to everything you're doing, yes. You know, just also seeing like Ava DuVernay, and it's not even just like Ava DuVernay as a director, but what she's doing to create space for other creators, you know, and that to me is what buying in is really all about, you know, getting your own seat at the table to create more seats at the table. It's like, I'm over here, but now I'm just about to open another table over here. And I think that's really like a big part of my vision of my work. I haven't really gotten the full opportunity to do that yet, but that's a huge part of what I want to do, is just to create more spaces for us. And when I say us, I mean Black creators, specifically Black women.
Okay. You know, somebody asked a question. They said, what about Latina creators? How can they contribute to the people of color conversation?
I mean, I think that it's really, everybody can contribute to the conversation. I mean, the reality is that a lot of Latinx people are from Afro-Latinx backgrounds, you know, and I think that sometimes that gets definitely underrepresented. And I think that there is a lot of cross-cultural connections between Latinx people in America and Black people in America. And I think there's a unification that needs to happen there as well, not just on an artistic level, but on a revolution level.
Right. No, that's good. That's really good. Someone says, what do you see yourself doing at 60? Or 80, sorry, 80.
Oh, I guess I could probably still be here, right? That's tiring.
We hope so.
Ooh, at 80, I hope, okay, at 80. At 80, I hope I'm at a home on a beach. You know, there has to be a beach. And at 80, I hope that I am, you know, literally just sitting back watching change have come. That's what I would like to see at 80. That's what I would like to be doing at 80. Not much, but relaxing and watching everybody else, you know, thrive off the fruits of the trees that we have nurtured and the trees of change that we have nurtured.
Yeah, that's great. I love all of that. I love that you're talking about creating more seats at the table, because it's no fun when we're sitting at a table by ourselves. It's real lonely.
It's very stressful.
Yeah.
And, you know, the reality is a lot of people are still just so focused on being in front of the camera. And it's like, no, we need people behind the camera. We need people that have money, you know, that are creating spaces, not just in the theatrical or in the movie entertainment space, but that are just that are the backers of different opportunities for the Black voice to be authentically represented. And whether that's in an educational space, you know, by investing and helping to support HBCUs, whether that's in a publishing space, you know, and having a publishing outlet that gets books by people of color out into a major landscape, you know, all of those things are valuable and important and not enough.
That's right. That's true. So I know we probably have a lot of creators that are listening, dialed in, and also viewing us online. So go forth and slay. Make sure you know, do it. Create a seed. We have another person that said, can you share a time when you felt stuck in your career and what helped you get past it? I currently feel like I'm at a standstill.
I remember one time I tweeted something on Twitter and was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just at a loss. And DJ Envy saw it and called me and was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was just like, you're never at a loss. Like, you have people, you have ideas, and you have a phone. Like, start calling folks and start figuring out ideas and start tossing ideas around on what you can do. But he was like, you can't give up. And the reason I bring that up is because sometimes what helps me get out of a rut is somebody else. You know, I always say, like, the key to thriving is having people around you that believe in you more than you believe in you. Because there's going to be times where you're just like, why didn't I just become a nurse? That would have been way easier in terms of finding a clear path, you know? And you need people that are like, because that wasn't your path, and, you know, stick to this and you're going to be fine. Sometimes in a rut, I've found that going back to the start has been helpful. I found myself in a depression for like literally all of 2005. And at New Year's, I was like, okay, we're done. And the next day I just said to myself, okay, we started on a path that began with doing spoken word, and it led us to radio, and it led us to being a host on MTV, and all of that is done. So let's just go back to the beginning and see if we take a different route, what'll happen. And I went back to the beginning. So I literally went back to where I started doing spoken word poetry. And that night I ended up performing with a band. And somehow I had learned how to rap. I don't know, up until that point I could never rap on beat, but that night somehow your girl had a flow. And that took me down a road to recording music, and that took me down a road of doing, you know, being a musician. And even though I didn't end up becoming like the next Beyonce, those are all skills and lessons that I use in my work to this day. So, and at the time, like, it did take me out of my rut. It did create a new invigoration in me to do, you know, what I want to do. So sometimes it's going back to the beginning and trying a different route. It's like if you're doing a maze. If you're doing a maze, you get lost, you go back to the start and you try a different route.
That's good. That's real good. People are saying amen, amen. And she's in here preaching, y'all. Somebody made a comment. I thought this was funny. When you were talking about people doing their research, you know, our quote unquote allies, she said that people can learn how to twerk and dab and bad and bougie, but you can't apply the same thing and educate yourself. That's true.
Ain't it funny though? Because they definitely learn how to say fleek and all that.
All day, every day. Let's see, we got another one. Okay, the moments that you're feeling fearful or scared or paralyzed, what do you tell yourself? Do you give yourself a pep talk?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I literally say to myself, hey, you got this. Like, that's literally what I tell myself. I'm just like, you do this. Like, I mean, I become very hood in that moment. And also, funnily enough, Tiffany Haddish in Girl Trip, like, I give myself pep talks in her voice because she gives the best pep talks. She'd be like, girl, you don't even know what you got in you, but I know because I see it because I'm the last black unicorn and you ain't never going to sell me short, so you can't sell you short. You here for a purpose. You a miracle. You was born a miracle. You ain't even from here. You came down here to be a ballet, like Tiffany will give it to you. So I give myself pep talks in Tiffany's voice, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you do it for yourself too.
I think, I don't know about some of the people probably listening, but I'm going to have to give myself that kind of pep talk. I don't know if it'll be that good, but it's really
just literally like you just have to remind yourself that like you're here for this purpose. You do this, you know? Sure. I think it was it Dove? Dove had these like cool little commercials with like two women in an elevator like getting ready to do a presentation.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like one chick and she's like in a power pose. And she's literally like standing in the elevator like dun, da, 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 and her friend is behind her like, you got this, you do this, you rock the shit out of this, you are not even you're a monster, you're a beast. And then the elevator opens, they're like, all right, let's do it.
I love those commercials, those are good. That's really great. Somebody asked, what about salary negotiation? Do you have any tips for when you've had
to negotiate against yourself. Never negotiate against yourself. Let them give you a number first. Let them give you a number first. Because once you give the number, they're like, oh, that's all you wanted? Let them give you the number first. But also, know your worth, but also know the context of your worth. For some of us, we'll know that we're $1 million broad, but you ain't done $1 million work yet, boo. So you can't ask for that $1 million yet. And you have to know in your heart that you're going to get there, but that there's work that has to be done to get there. And that's when you got to let your ego get out the way. Because if your ego is bigger than your resume, then you have a problem.
That's good. That's good. We will take 3 more questions. We have a lot in the queue, so I'm trying to get through some of them. Someone says, sometimes it's hard to decipher, like reading people's paragraphs.
Right.
They said, do you get discouraged working in Hollywood? They're thinking about making a transition, and they know that there's only a certain amount of roles for Black or brown actresses.
Yeah, I do. I mean, sometimes I get role like synopses, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me that this is something that's being made right now? I mean, and you know, the actresses, we share it amongst each other, and we're just like, do you say this bullshit? But it's kind of like it's like a nigga conundrum. You know, it's like I wouldn't be anywhere else. So this is what I have to deal with. And so the way I deal with it is knowing that I am going to be a part of changing it. And so you know, that's why I created Get Your Life, my web series. And when you watch Get Your Life, which is now available on blavity.com.
Shout out to Blavity.
Shout out to Blavity. You'll see that like there's a number of different roles for Black women, you know, and even though people are like, it's just a digital series, you know, it's still a space to be seen. And we live in an age where a digital series is no longer just like some bullshit, you know, it's a legit thing, and it could be on legit platforms. You know, you look at American Coco and you're just like, wow, like she was able to get this off of just her own platform and onto abc.com. So there is ability for movement. The problem a lot of times is that in what really can be discouraging in Hollywood is sometimes the Black women who aren't supporting each other, you know, and who feel like, oh, if your shit is not what they consider popping, that it's not worth their time, or it's not worth their respect, you know. And then when your shit does get popping, then they want to send you a text message saying, you know, I just see you shining and you know my heart. Don't do it.
So you haven't experienced that at all, I'm sure, right?
Well, remember, I've only been out here a year and a half, and I done made a whole bunch of waves. So I've had a lot of, hey girl, I've had a lot of woodworks just being kicked open like Power Rangers. And, you know, sometimes I'm a little more Christian than others.
Somebody asked, how do you stay humble?
My mother is West Indian, so that's part one of how I stay humble, because she be acting like I am on a TV show on a cable network that's only seen in Cleveland, Ohio, or some shit, you know. So, but part of staying humble is also knowing that you're just part of a bigger plan at work. You know, it's not really all about you, and there's so much work to be done, and there's so little that you can even do, you know. And so you have to stay humble and just knowing like that you are a drop of oil in an ocean, but that drop of oil, you know, you're sorry, not a drop of oil, but you are a drop of water in an ocean, but you know, you are also a part of like swaying what way that ocean goes. And there's humility in that. Sometimes it ain't time to be humble. You know, that's the other thing too. Sometimes people want you to be humble for their arrogance. It's like, get the fuck out of here, okay? Because people would love to make you feel like you're lucky to be here, you know, and you're lucky to have me. So both of us win.
Snaps, yes. Another person asks, what's your favorite book?
The Alchemist.
Oh, that's a good book.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, we'll take one more. Let's see. Oh, someone says, would you say it's better to bring a seat to the table or have a seat prepared for you at the table?
Bring a seat to the table or have a seat prepared. I mean, I guess if I understand the question correctly, do I think it's better for them to make space for me or for me to create my own space?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I mean, I always think it's better to create your own space. You know, that's just kind of my personal way of looking at things, because when you create your own space, you can get a seat that's comfortable to your liking, you know. You can choose whether you want sparkling or tap. You know, you can you know, get your menu prepared correctly if you're gluten-free. If they prepare a seat for you, you know, you kind of just, whatever they give you, that's what you got to be happy with. And so I also feel like when you create your own seat at the table, you come with a different value, you know, because that's them making room for you, but understanding that you know what you came there to do best, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's real good. I think that's a good way to end it. I think this has been a great conversation. I've seen the feedback in the chat, and everybody's like laughing and enjoying, and so happy that we had this conversation. And I just want to thank you personally, because sometimes, you know, when you get to a certain level, it's hard to get access to celebrities, and, you know, having these conversations where women were so hungry and eager to, you know, hear what you have to say, and to have these one-on-ones it means everything to myself, to our community. So thank you so much, Amanda.
No, thank you. Listen, we legit be busy. I didn't know. I really didn't know how busy we be. But now that I'm one of them, I'm like, God damn, we busy. So trust me, a lot of times it's not like somebody's trying to egg you, but stuff pops up, and you know, we're all still trying to elevate too. So sometimes you have stuff pop up that you can't move, you know, because I still got to kiss a couple rings, you know, while I'm trying, you know, what it is. So thank you guys for being willing to allow me to reschedule so that I could have this conversation with you. And thank you guys for your thoughtful questions, and for even being interested in what I have to say.
Absolutely. So make sure you go follow her, check out her everything. You know, if she's winning, we're winning, because that's how we create more seats at the table. So we need to support each other, and have a great night, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you. And shout out to Harlem.
Harlem. Have a good night.
Have a good night, y'all.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.